So, the next one we're doing is the Flair design principle. And it kind of touches on one of the other principles, which is the added fullness. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing I did, I traced off my back and my front bodice with the one dart on it. And I did the back with the shoulder dart, and I'll show you why we're going to do that in a minute. But first, I need to make sure you have this HBL line, and that is our horizontal balance line that goes across the back. The easiest way to get this, if you don't have it already on your pattern, it's just a squared line that's squared from the center back. And pretty much the way that you get it, if you were to find out exactly how much space it is from where the armhole starts to where the armhole finishes, and then if you divide it into 3, the first 1/3 of that space is about where they have the horizontal balance line. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. If you were to take the armhole and figure out how long it is vertically, and you know, nothing really fancy. You don't have to go and measure the actual armhole. You just need to figure out how much space it takes up vertically. So from where the armhole begins to where it ends, take that space and divide it into 3s, and then the first 1/3 is where you would put your horizontal balance line. So you kind of mark it in the armhole, and then you come over here, and then you just match your ruler up and just square it. Find out where it matches up here, and then just square a line all the way across. Then you'll have it. So, basically the first thing, the basic understanding of how to do the flare. Your garment is going to look funny. Okay, let me say it like this. Your side seam needs to basically just fall straight. Okay, so let's look over here for 2 seconds. If you look at this dress form, you know, if you're looking at the side, that the line needs to go straight down. If you're looking straight at it, it needs to go straight down, right? And the same thing is true on when you're making your garments and when you're doing something that has flare in it. Even though it has all this out here, it's still, the seam line still needs to go straight down, and it doesn't need to go to the back or to the front. Now if you look here, and this is some, you know, slightly advanced stuff. Not advanced that you can understand it, but just advanced like, if somebody doesn't explain this to you in this way, you're not going to figure it out by yourself just automatically if you haven't dealt with these things before and you're just stepping into fashion design and pattern making. So, basically when you look at these two, you can already tell that if you didn't close the darts, that the front swings open way more than the back does, and that's because of, you know, the breast that you have on the front. You need a larger dart in order to bring that fabric back in so that it sits correctly. And then on the back, you just have your back that bulges out here. So your dart doesn't need to be nearly as big in order to take in that room from where your back bulges out to where your waist goes in. So basically what you have to do in order to keep this side seam straight, you're going to have to add onto the back in order to equalize it out with the front. Okay? Because that's the only way that it's going to hang straight. If you need it to hang straight, the back is going to have to equal the front in some way. Okay? And that way your seam line, because this is going to push the seam line back, and you can already see the way it looks. It's going to just push that back, and so then your seam line is going to actually look just like this. Is going to point to the back. So we want to keep that from happening. So we're going to do a couple of different things. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take this and bring it up to the HBL line, because we're going to throw this dart down here, and that's going to give us some room. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take this dart leg and extend it all the way up, and then we'll come from the point here and we'll just connect it like that. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. And then, well, really, my mistake. We're going to come from this point here. Let me zoom in some so you can see. We're going to come from this point here, and we're going to connect it there. And then we're going to come from this point, and we're going to connect it there. Okay. So it's almost like you're creating an extra large dart point. Okay. Then we'll leave that like that. What we'll do is we'll cut it out, and then we're going to shift it like this. We'll cut all the way up here, and we'll shift it so that this dart closes, and it's going to open here. So this will be your pivot point. This will be pivot point. Okay. This spot right there. That way it's going to throw this little bit of this little bit of extra dart room down into this dart, and that's going to help us start to equalize that out. Okay, and zoom out some. So I've cut it open, and I cut the little dart excess out of there, but I left this one because I don't need to cut it out at the top, just to show you this. So what I'm going to do, this is what I was talking about, we're just going to close it like that. Okay, and you see how it gives us a little extra room there at the bottom. Okay, and then it makes a nicer little flare that's coming here. Then we're also going to add a little bit extra over to the side, and then I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, oh well. We already know that, let's say that our waist is 26 inches. We already know that this and this equals 13. So then we would just measure this, and let's say that that equals 4 inches, okay? So 13 plus 4 inches would be 17 inches. Zoom in so you can see. So let's say we found out that the front, the total, all of this area, all of this is 17 inches, okay? So let's say that we already know that this back area, the waist part equals 13 inches, just like the front. But now, since we've opened it up some more, this area now equals 2 inches. And we'll start like that. So we still have 13 plus 2 equals 15. So we still need to add 2 inches to the back. Okay, just taking this line and swinging it out. That's all you're doing to give it some extra room. So let's say this gives us the extra 2 inches we need. And now 15 plus 2 equals 17. So now our flare in the back and our flare in the front equals each other. So when we sew the sides together, it's going to balance out when it's floating around the body. Okay, so you see that one's 17, and now this one's 17 too. That's where we need to be. All you have to do is just pick a point maybe about 3 or 4 inches up into the armhole, and you'll draw into about, we'll say maybe close to halfway where this is. So you'll draw about halfway here, and then 3 inches up the armhole and draw a line. And then just slash this open maybe about another inch. Okay. And then, once again, they have to be even. So you can measure up about 3 inches here, and about halfway here. And then you can say open 1 inch. We can point that way. And that's it. Now, as far as notching, you would not notch anywhere on here because that's showing that it doesn't connect to anything. Or at least not not connect to anything, but showing that you don't close this down. You don't need to gather it, you don't need to pleat it, you don't need to do anything. So, and just like how we connected this part, you would just connect all the way across. Okay? You can see that. And then in the finished pattern, you would just ignore all of this. If you did open this part, all of this would just be blended in, all of that. So the only thing you would have would be this part of the pattern up here. Let me zoom out some so you can see what I'm doing. This part of the pattern on down here, on around this bottom area. Okay? You wouldn't have any of this inside stuff. And the same thing over here. The only thing you would have would be the outline. Let me draw this over. You would just have all of this outline. You wouldn't have any of this in here. Okay? And that's how you do your Flair.